Effortless Small Garden Elegance 2025. Transform any space into a stylish outdoor sanctuary. In the year 2025, outdoor living has emerged as a canvas for architectural expression, where even the smallest spaces embody a refined harmony of elegance, utility, and sustainability. When I approach a compact backyard, a narrow terrace, or a modest patio, I do not see limitation. I see opportunity. The opportunity to transform constraint into clarity, to orchestrate space so that it feels expansive without requiring scale, and to create sanctuaries that rival the grandeur of vast gardens. This is the essence of effortless small garden elegance, a philosophy rooted not in abundance, but in the wisdom of restraint and thoughtful design. As architects of modern living, we no longer measure success in square meters. Instead, we measure it in experiences, in the way a person breathes differently when they step into their garden retreat, in how the mind slows and the body softens in the embrace of natural materials and curated light. The spaces we shape are not merely visual compositions, they are living systems. They flex, they adapt, and they breathe with the rhythms of daily life. In the morning, the compact patio might unfold as a yoga studio, a place for stretching and solitude as the first rays of sunlight carve shadows across wooden decks. At midday, it transforms effortlessly into an alfresco dining room, the scent of herbs carried in the breeze as family and friends gather. By evening, the same space becomes a lounge, soft seating, lanterns glowing, voices mingling with the subtle hum of nature. Every surface, every object, and every arrangement is chosen for its ability to serve multiple lives within the same square footage. Multifunctionality has become the foundation of elegance in small garden design. It is here that modularity reigns supreme. Benches are no longer only for sitting, they conceal storage, holding cushions or gardening tools within their hidden compartments. Tables fold gracefully, disappearing when not needed, only to re-emerge for a shared meal. Chairs stack with precision, lightweight yet strong, allowing for an effortless reconfiguration of the space. Elegance in 2025 is not cluttered with excess. It is defined by clarity, by spaces that feel open even when they serve many purposes. The artistry lies in creating spaces that shift seamlessly, like stage sets in a carefully choreographed play. The choice of material, too, speaks the language of timeless sophistication. As an architect, I lean instinctively toward the authenticity of wood, stone, and clay. Their tactile honesty grounds the design, connecting the inhabitant to something eternal. A wooden deck in warm tones anchors the feet and the spirit, its grain telling the story of growth and time. Smooth stone pathways weave like veins through the garden, guiding movement while offering a contrast of texture. Walls clad in rough stone or clay echo the imperfections of nature, reminding us that elegance is never sterile, never contrived. In this era, reclaimed and locally sourced materials carry even greater significance. They are not only environmentally sound, but also rich with narrative. The stone that once framed a farmhouse wall, the wood that weathered years by the sea, now reborn as part of a new sanctuary. Sustainability is no longer a secondary consideration, it is the DNA of good design. When I place greenery into a compact garden, I treat each plant as an architectural element, not as decoration. It is not about filling space with as many leaves as possible. It is about balance, rhythm, and focal points. A single olive tree in a corner can command attention with its sculptural form. A cluster of bamboo creates both privacy and movement, whispering in the wind. Tall grasses bend gracefully, softening the edges of stone and timber, while low ground cover unifies the whole composition with subtle continuity. In vertical gardens, I see walls dissolve into living tapestries, their textures shifting with the seasons. Hanging planters suspend life in the air, expanding the sense of depth and dimension. It is not abundance we seek, but intention, the careful layering of green to draw the eye upward, outward, and inward at once. Lighting, in many ways, is the final stroke of elegance. Without it, the garden is only half alive. In 2025, I craft lighting not as an afterthought, but as a central element of design. I imagine the way a solar lantern pulls light across a stone pathway, guiding the feet without overwhelming the eyes. I envision the gentle glow of LEDs hidden among grasses, casting shadows that dance across walls. String lights woven through a pergola create not just illumination but atmosphere, spaces where laughter lingers into the night, where conversations are cradled by warmth. Lighting does more than reveal form. It shapes mood, it elongates the day, and it allows even the most compact terrace to expand its purpose into twilight. To achieve elegance here is to strike a balance, light enough for safety and function, yet soft enough to evoke intimacy and calm. What defines this new era of outdoor living is not merely aesthetic, it is deeply personal, rooted in wellness and mindfulness. Gardens, no matter their size, are designed as sanctuaries of the self. A corner bench tucked behind a screen of bamboo becomes a meditation refuge, where the sound of a small fountain dissolves the weight of daily noise. A hammock strung between posts is not just furniture, it is a declaration that rest has value. Ornamental grasses swaying with each breeze remind us that stillness can be found in movement. Here, beauty is inseparable from well-being. These are spaces for reflection, for grounding, for remembering that to live elegantly is to live in balance with oneself and with nature. Outdoor kitchens and dining areas exemplify how function and pleasure converge. In the smallest gardens, compact grills or foldable dining sets transform mere patios into stages of conviviality. Vertical herb gardens flank these areas, practical and poetic at once, the scent of rosemary or basil released with a touch, the flavors infusing meals with immediacy. Cooking outdoors ceases to be a seasonal luxury and becomes instead a daily ritual, an affirmation that living well extends beyond the walls of the home. Underlying it all is sustainability. Every choice, from permeable paving that allows rain to replenish the earth to drought-resistant plants that thrive with minimal water, is a gesture of responsibility. It is not enough for a garden to look elegant. It must also sustain life, reduce waste, and honor the finite resources of our planet. True elegance emerges when design is authentic, when it acknowledges both human desire and environmental necessity. When I stand back and observe such a garden, I see more than a collection of objects, more than furniture and plants arranged in tidy fashion. I see philosophy made tangible. I see that elegance is not about grandeur, but about intention. It is not about abundance, but about resonance. In 2025, we design not just for the eye, but for the soul. We create outdoor spaces that restore, inspire, and remind us of our connection to nature. Whether it is a modest patio in the city or a terrace overlooking the sea, the principles remain the same: multifunctionality, authenticity, mindfulness, and sustainability. These are the cornerstones of effortless small garden elegance, and they are timeless. When we move deeper into the philosophy of outdoor living in 2025, we begin to recognize that elegance is not a fixed state, but a living condition, an unfolding of possibilities as daylight shifts and life moves through the seasons. In every design, I strive to create a rhythm, a cadence that allows the garden to adapt, to flow, and to whisper a different story with each passing hour. This is not about ornamentation, nor about overwhelming the senses with excess. It is about constructing a dialogue between form and function, between the permanence of materials and the transience of human activity. The garden becomes a stage, and life itself becomes the performance. Central to this philosophy is the art of proportion. In a small garden, proportion is everything. It dictates the relationship between seating and pathway, between vertical surfaces and open air, between shade and sunlight. The smallest miscalculation can crowd the senses, while the right balance elevates the space into something graceful. I often design with negative space in mind, leaving areas deliberately unfilled. These voids breathe life into the composition, offering visual relief and a sense of calm. They allow the eye to rest and the mind to expand. Too often, the temptation is to fill every corner to prove productivity through density. But restraint is the truest mark of sophistication. By holding back, by allowing space to speak, the design gains its power. Materials too are explored not just as surfaces, but as storytellers. Stone does not simply pave a path, it carries the weight of geology, the memory of the earth itself. Wood does not merely frame a deck, it reveals the cycles of growth, the seasons etched into its grain. Clay does not only build walls, it holds the fingerprints of human craft, the warmth of hands that shaped it. When I design with these materials, I'm conscious of their dialogue with the elements. Wood softens under the sun, stone cools under evening air, clay absorbs and releases moisture in rhythm with the weather. These interactions are not flaws to be hidden, but features to be celebrated. They remind the inhabitant that elegance is never static. It evolves, it patinas, it grows richer with time. Greenery, when curated thoughtfully, becomes the architecture of softness. I imagine tall grasses swaying like curtains, framing the edges of a seating area while blurring the line between built form and nature. Olive trees stand as sculptural anchors, their silvery leaves catching light in a way that shifts with each breeze. Bamboo, planted in narrow clusters, becomes both a screen and a soundscape, rustling like whispers that soothe the mind. Vertical gardens are not mere walls of plants, they are living facades, extending architecture into ecology. Hanging planters create layers of life suspended in air, while ground-level vegetation stitches the whole composition into a coherent fabric. It is not the quantity of plants that creates elegance, but the orchestration of rhythm, density, and form. This is choreography, not accumulation. The role of water in small gardens is profound. A single fountain, its sound gentle and continuous, transforms the atmosphere into one of sanctuary. The reflective surface of a narrow pool doubles the sense of space, capturing sky and leaf in mirrored poetry. Even the suggestion of water, through textures, through movement, through sound, invites serenity. In a compact design, water becomes the most precious element, not only soothing the senses but also cooling the microclimate, refreshing the air, and balancing the heat of stone and timber. When combined with lighting, the effect is transcendent. Ripples casting shadows onto walls, droplets sparkling under lanterns, the night alive with shimmer. Lighting itself remains a silent architect of mood. I layer it carefully, never harsh, never overbearing. Pathways glow softly, guiding footsteps without demanding attention. Pergolas become lattices of light, with strings woven subtly among beams to create constellations overhead. LEDs tucked beneath benches cast halos at the base, giving the illusion that furniture floats. Solar lanterns punctuate the ground like fireflies, playful and ephemeral. In the smallest terrace, such choices transform the night, allowing intimacy to thrive, conversation to linger, and solitude to deepen. Energy-efficient, sustainable solutions make this beauty responsible, ensuring that elegance is not bought at the expense of the planet. The wellness dimension is at the heart of these spaces. We design not simply for gatherings, but for restoration. A meditation corner, shaded and secluded, becomes a temple of stillness. A hammock gently rocking in the evening breeze is a reminder that rest is as valuable as productivity. A small bench by a trickling fountain invites reflection, the sound masking the noise of the outside world. In these details, the garden ceases to be a decorative accessory and becomes an ally of the human spirit. It nurtures body and mind alike, offering balance to the pace of contemporary life. This, to me, is the highest expression of architecture, not to dazzle, but to heal. Dining outdoors, in this philosophy, is not an occasional indulgence but a daily ritual. Compact grills fit seamlessly into tight corners, foldable dining sets emerge when needed, and vertical herb gardens bring both practicality and poetry to the table. To pluck basil or rosemary and place it directly into a dish is to experience immediacy, to feel connected to the cycle of growth and nourishment. This intimacy with food, air, and fire transforms the act of eating into a celebration of life itself. The garden thus becomes an extension of the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room, blurring the boundaries between indoors and outdoors. Sustainability is the invisible framework holding it all together. Permeable paving allows the rain to seep back into the earth, replenishing rather than rejecting. Drought-resistant plants thrive gracefully with minimal demand, embodying resilience. Reclaimed materials carry their stories forward while reducing waste. These decisions are not burdens but gifts, affirming that design has a moral dimension. Elegance cannot be divorced from responsibility. Beauty that ignores sustainability is hollow. In 2025, we embrace the principle that to live well is to live responsibly. As I step back from such a garden, I recognize its paradox. small in scale yet expansive in spirit. It is not grandeur that makes a space timeless, it is intention. Every bench that conceals storage, every stone that carries memory, every light that softens the night contributes to a whole greater than its parts. These gardens remind us that design is not about size, but about resonance, about crafting spaces where people feel whole, where they rediscover the balance between nature and self. And in this balance, they find elegance, effortless and enduring. As we arrive at the culmination of this design philosophy, we see that the small garden of 2025 has transcended its role as an accessory to the home. It has become a vital organ within the architecture of daily life, breathing rhythm and beauty into routines that might otherwise be mundane. The garden, no matter its dimensions, is now a sanctuary, a classroom, a dining hall, a meditation chamber, and a gathering place all at once. It embodies the union of aesthetics and ethics, of sustainability and sophistication. It is, in every sense, architecture without walls, an architecture defined by sky, by seasons, by time itself. To speak of multifunctional design is to speak of adaptability. These spaces are designed like living instruments, tuned to the shifts of lifestyle, capable of composing countless variations of use. A terrace may awaken with the stillness of dawn, hosting a solitary yoga practice on a mat, unrolled across timber planks. Hours later, the same terrace evolves into a vibrant hub, with a foldable table unfurled and chairs gathered for a midday meal. As night falls, lanterns and subtle lighting transform it into a lounge of intimacy and reflection. This is not coincidence, it is choreography. Each material, each object, each proportion is positioned with foresight, allowing the inhabitant to compose their life like music. And just as music finds its beauty in rhythm and silence, these gardens find elegance in their balance of activity and pause. The palette of materials grounds this philosophy. Wood, with its warmth and organic grain, reminds us of continuity. Stone, with its density and endurance, speaks of permanence. Clay, with its subtle imperfections, offers humanity and craft. These materials are never neutral. They converse with light, with touch, with air. They age, they weather, and they acquire character over time. In their imperfection lies their truth. More and more we rely on reclaimed and locally sourced materials, not only as an ecological statement, but as a design principle. A reclaimed plank tells a richer story than a sterile new one. A stone lifted from a nearby quarry resonates with authenticity in ways imported marble cannot. Elegance in this age is inseparable from authenticity. Plants, too, are chosen as one might curate art in a gallery. Each species serves as a brushstroke, each placement a deliberate gesture. A single olive tree is not just foliage, it is sculpture, structure and symbol. Bamboo is not only privacy, it is music in the wind. Tall grasses are not filler, they are choreography in motion, bending and swaying to remind us of impermanence. Vertical gardens convert blank walls into living frescoes, and hanging planters dissolve the boundary between ceiling and ground. What emerges is not an accumulation of greenery, but a layered, intentional composition. The garden becomes a canvas, and nature itself becomes the medium. Water, when introduced into these compact sanctuaries, amplifies the sense of serenity. It is astonishing how a single trickling fountain can alter an entire atmosphere, its sound dissolving the clamour of the city, its rhythm aligning with the breath of those who linger nearby. A reflective pool doubles the depth of a garden, drawing sky and foliage downward into its mirror, expanding space through illusion. Even a small basin carved from stone, when lit at night, can sparkle with profound effect. Water cools, it cleanses, it soothes, it becomes an ally in the garden's mission to restore the spirit. Lighting continues this orchestration into the night. It is never merely illumination but atmosphere, never an afterthought but an essential act of design. Lanterns punctuate paths, LED uplighting reveals the form of trees against dark skies, and woven strings of light transform pergolas into constellations. Soft halos beneath benches lend weightlessness to the furniture, while solar-powered accents flicker like fireflies at the garden's edges. In a small garden, light is not used to overwhelm, but to reveal, to guide, to create intimacy. It becomes an invisible architecture, shaping the mood as profoundly as walls or floors. The true measure of these gardens, however, lies not only in their beauty, but in their impact on human well-being. They are designed as sanctuaries of mindfulness, spaces where modern life's relentless pace is slowed, where the individual can reconnect with themselves and with nature. A meditation corner framed by bamboo, a hammock swaying lightly at dusk, or a simple bench beside a water feature. These are more than conveniences, they are invitations to pause, to reflect, to heal. The garden becomes a therapist, a confidant, a companion in silence. In designing such spaces, we acknowledge that wellness is not an indulgence but a necessity, and that architecture must serve the soul as much as the body. Dining and cooking outdoors embody another evolution in lifestyle. What was once reserved for holidays and weekends has become part of everyday life. Compact grills slide neatly into corners, foldable tables emerge with ease, and vertical herb gardens provide flavor and fragrance within arm's reach. To cook and eat outside is to collapse the artificial division between interior and exterior, to affirm that life is not bound by walls. Food tastes different when prepared under open skies. Conversations carry a different weight when accompanied by the scent of rosemary in the breeze. In these moments, the garden ceases to be background and becomes participant in life's rituals. Sustainability always is the foundation upon which this elegance rests. Every material chosen, every plant selected, every surface designed must answer to the call of responsibility. Permeable paving ensures rain replenishes the ground beneath. Native, drought-resistant plants thrive without strain on water supplies. Reclaimed timbers reduce waste while infusing the space with memory. Solar lighting reduces energy consumption while enhancing atmosphere. These are not compromises, they are the new definitions of refinement. To design without sustainability in 2025 is to design without relevance. Elegance is no longer judged by grandeur but by harmony. Harmony with nature, with resources, with time. And so, when I step back and regard these spaces as wholes, I see that the small garden of today is not small at all. It is vast in experience, rich in texture, infinite in possibility. It teaches us that beauty is not measured in size but in intention. It demonstrates that serenity does not require seclusion, that elegance does not require excess. It shows us that the future of design lies not in grand gestures but in authentic connections, with nature, with community, and with ourselves. This is the architecture of outdoor living in 2025, not spectacle but sanctuary, not luxury but authenticity, not expansion outward but deepening inward. It is a philosophy that will endure because it is timeless. Gardens, no matter how compact, remind us that life's true elegance emerges not from scale, but from thought, from care, from the seamless union of form and meaning. In them we rediscover the truth that architecture has always sought to reveal, that to design is to honor life, and to live well is to live in harmony with the world around us.